Let me say something that will make a lot of people uncomfortable. You're not as free as you think. Right now, at this exact moment, your emotions, your reactions, and even your decisions are being quietly influenced by people who will never admit they are controlling you. And the worst part? You probably trust them. You defend them. You explain their behavior. Machiavelli warned centuries ago that the most effective form of power is the kind that never looks like power at all. Because once control becomes invisible, resistance disappears. If you've ever felt *guilty for saying no, *anxious after conversations, *drained without knowing why, *responsible for other people's emotions, this video is about you. And if you leave early, you'll leave blind. Backhand index pointing right, subscribe now. Because this channel exposes the psychology nobody wants you to understand. Most people believe manipulation looks aggressive. They think it's shouting, threats, domination, force. That's childish manipulation. That's amateur hour. Real manipulation is calm, polite, reasonable, even caring. Carl Jung said something terrifyingly accurate. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. Manipulation lives in the unconscious. It doesn't force you to act. It makes you feel wrong for not acting. And once guilt enters the picture, you're already compromised. Here's a brutal truth most people never accept. Intelligent, empathetic, self-aware people are the easiest to manipulate. Why? Because they reflect, explain themselves, seek fairness, doubt their instincts. A manipulator does not attack stupidity. They exploit conscience. Machiavelli understood this perfectly. He knew that the moral man can be controlled by appealing to his virtue, while the immoral man resists nothing. So manipulators do not pressure you. They disappoint you. They don't demand. They withdraw warmth. And your brain, desperate to restore balance, complies. That's not weakness. That's conditioning. Pay attention carefully. If someone in your life just came to mind, that's not coincidence. That's recognition. Stay with me. This is the first and most dangerous sign you're being manipulated. Emotional inversion. It happens when they hurt you. You feel guilty. You apologize. Let that sink in. They cross your boundary. And somehow, you end up explaining yourself. This is not accidental. This is psychological reversal. Manipulators flip responsibility so subtly that you begin managing their emotions instead of your own boundaries. You start thinking, maybe I overreacted. Maybe I'm too sensitive. I don't want to upset them. That's the trap. Once you start regulating their emotions, control is complete. Machiavelli would call this voluntary submission. You're not forced. You're convinced. If this is hitting uncomfortably close, like the video, not for the algorithm, for yourself, because awareness is the first crack in the prison. Here's what emotional inversion slowly destroys. Your instincts. Your confidence. Your authority. Your sense of self. You stop trusting your reactions. You delay decisions. You hesitate before speaking. And over time, you become manageable. That's the goal. Not obedience. Compliance without resistance. And this is only the first sign. The next one is far more subtle and far more common. If you crack the prison wall, then this shows you the chains. Because manipulation doesn't begin with control. It begins with guilt. Not loud guilt, not obvious guilt, but the quiet, corrosive kind that sits in your chest and whispers. You owe them. And once you believe you owe someone, they own you. Machiavelli understood this better than most modern psychologists. He knew that fear creates rebellion, but obligation creates loyalty. And loyalty, when engineered, is the most dangerous weapon of all. Most people think guilt is moral. It's not. Guilt is a control emotion. From a psychological standpoint, guilt exists to regulate group behavior. It keeps tribes together. It enforces social contracts. But manipulators hijack this ancient mechanism. They don't say, Asterisk, do this. They say, asterisk, after everything I've done for you. They don't demand. They remind. And that reminder creates psychological debt. Once debt exists, freedom disappears. Psychological debt works like this. They do something small for you. You didn't ask for it. They never let you forget it. Now pause. This is critical. Unrequested favors are the most dangerous kind. Why? Because they create obligation without consent. Carl Jung warned that when kindness is used unconsciously, it becomes manipulation disguised as virtue. The manipulator doesn't want repayment. They want leverage. So later, weeks, months, even years later, they cash it in. Not directly, emotionally. This is the second sign you're being manipulated every day. Listen carefully. If someone uses phrases like, asterisk, after all I've done for you. Asterisk, I was there when no one else was. Asterisk, you wouldn't be where you are without me. That is not love. That is emotional accounting. Healthy people give and release. Manipulators give and record. They keep a ledger in their mind. And every time you resist them, they open it. That's guilt programming. You begin to feel. Asterisk, selfish for saying no. Asterisk, disloyal for choosing yourself. Asterisk, cruel for asserting boundaries. And once guilt replaces logic, control is automatic. Be honest with yourself. How many decisions have you made? Not because you wanted to, but because you felt you should. That's not character. That's conditioning. Stay with me. Why this works so well on good people. Here's the brutal irony. Manipulators don't target selfish people. They target asterisk conscientious people, asterisk loyal people, asterisk empathetic people, asterisk disciplined people. Why? Because these people honor obligation. Machiavelli would say, men are less afraid of offending one who makes himself loved than one who makes himself feared. So manipulators don't intimidate you. They bind you with kindness, with sacrifice, with history. And once you're bound, they don't need to control you. You control yourself for them. If this is opening your eyes, backhand index pointing right, like the video. Backhand index pointing right, share it with someone who feels too responsible for everyone. Because once guilt loses its power, manipulation collapses. The long-term damage of guilt programming. Unchecked guilt programming leads to chronic anxiety, resentment you're ashamed to feel, emotional exhaustion, loss of self-respect. You start living reactively. You explain yourself too much. You delay decisions. You negotiate your own needs. And slowly, invisibly, you disappear. That's the cost. By now you should realize something unsettling. The most dangerous manipulators don't yell. They don't threaten. They don't argue. They go quiet. And somehow, that silence hurts more than words ever could. That's not an accident. That's a psychological weapon. Machiavelli understood that removing reward is more powerful than applying force. Modern psychology confirms it. Silence is not neutral. Silence is punishment. Why silence destroys you? Human beings are wired for connection. Your nervous system reads. Affection equals safety. Attention equals belonging. Validation equals survival. When those are suddenly removed, your brain panics. Not consciously, biologically. Cortisol rises. Dopamine crashes. Your mind starts scanning for what you did wrong. This is where control begins. Because the manipulator doesn't explain the silence. They let you explain it to yourself. And you will always be harsher than they ever could be. Sign number 3. Affection withdrawal control. This is the third sign you're being manipulated every day. Pay close attention. If someone, asterisk, becomes cold when you assert boundaries. Asterisk withholds warmth when you disagree. Asterisk disappears after you say no. Asterisk punishes independence with distance. That is not emotional maturity. That is behavioral conditioning. It's the same mechanism used to train animals. Reward obedience. Remove reward for resistance. Except here, the reward is love, and the punishment is abandonment. The sick genius of silent punishment. Here's why this tactic is so effective. If someone screams at you, you can label them abusive. If someone insults you, you can defend yourself. But silence? Silence gives you nothing to push against. So you turn inward. You replay conversations. You soften your standards. You reach out first. You apologize, even when you weren't wrong. Not because you believe it, but because you want the pain to stop. That's control. Ask yourself this honestly. How many times have you chased peace instead of truth? Stay with me. Machiavelli warned rulers not to rely on constant punishment. Why? Because punishment breeds resistance, but uncertainty breeds submission. When someone doesn't know, asterisk what triggered the silence. Asterisk how long it will last. Asterisk what restores connection. They become compliant. They overperform. They overexplain. They overgive. The manipulator hasn't changed. You have. How this rewires your identity. Over time, this creates a dangerous internal belief. Love must be earned. Once that belief is installed, asterisk you tolerate disrespect. Asterisk you suppress needs. Asterisk you fear honesty. Asterisk you prioritize harmony over self-respect. And the worst part? You call it being mature. But it's not maturity. It's conditioning. If this feels uncomfortably accurate, Backend Index Pointing Right, subscribe now. Backend Index Pointing Right, this channel exposes what others normalize. Because once you see the pattern, it can't control you anymore. The invisible trap. Silent punishment only works on people who care. Cold people don't feel it. Detached people don't chase. Which means the solution is not harder communication. The solution is emotional sovereignty. And that brings us to the most manipulative tactic of all. There's a point where manipulation stops feeling external and starts living inside your head. This is that point. Gaslighting doesn't just control your behavior. It colonizes your perception. And once someone controls how you interpret reality, they no longer need to control you at all. You'll do it for them. What gaslighting really is. Gaslighting is not lying. Everyone lies. Gaslighting is systematic psychological erosion. It happens when someone repeatedly, asterisk, denies things they clearly said or did. Asterisk, minimizes your emotional reactions. Asterisk reframes their behavior as your sensitivity. Asterisk questions your memory, logic, or sanity. The goal is not to win an argument. The goal is to make you stop trusting yourself. Because a person who doubts their own perception is the easiest person to dominate. Sign number 4. You doubt your own memory. This is the 4th sign you're being manipulated every day. You find yourself saying, asterisk, maybe I'm misunderstood. Asterisk, maybe I'm remembering it wrong. Asterisk, maybe I overreacted. Asterisk, maybe it's my fault. Not once, but consistently. That repetition matters. Because healthy relationships clarify confusion. Manipulative ones create it. How gaslighting works on the brain. Your brain relies on pattern recognition. When someone repeatedly contradicts your reality, your nervous system enters conflict mode. 2 things happen. You feel anxious and unstable. You seek an external authority to anchor truth. Guess who conveniently positions themselves as the reasonable one? The manipulator. They speak calmly. They sound logical. They accuse you of being emotional. Not because you are, but because emotion is easier to discredit than certainty. Machiavellian insight. Confusion is power. Machiavelli understood this centuries ago. He who controls the narrative controls the outcome. If someone can make you question, asterisk what happened, asterisk why it happened, asterisk what it means, they can guide your decisions without force. This is soft tyranny. No chance, no threats, just doubt. And doubt is lethal to confidence. Extended gaslighting causes. Asterisk chronic self-doubt. Asterisk anxiety before speaking. Asterisk over-explaining everything. Asterisk asking permission for basic decisions. Asterisk emotional numbness. Eventually, you stop asserting truth. Not because you don't have it, but because defending reality becomes exhausting. That's when control is complete. Here's the disturbing question. If you can't trust your own perception, whose version of reality are you living in? Don't look away. Why smart people fall for this? Gaslighting doesn't work on idiots. It works on asterisk empathetic people. Asterisk thoughtful people. Asterisk people who self-reflect. Asterisk people who value harmony. Because these people are willing to question themselves. Manipulators exploit that humility. They turn self-reflection into self-erasure. If this feels personal, Backend Index Pointing Right, subscribe. Backend Index Pointing Right. This channel exists to restore your clarity. Because power begins with seeing clearly. The exit from gaslighting. The escape is not arguing harder. The escape is documenting reality. Patterns over words. Behavior over explanations. Consistency over promises. Gaslighting collapses when truth is recorded, which leads us to the next manipulation, the one that keeps you trapped even when you see everything clearly. Let me tell you something uncomfortable. If someone can make you feel guilty on command, they don't need to control your actions. They already control your conscience. And once your conscience is hijacked, you will punish yourself harder than any enemy ever could. What moral blackmail really is. Moral blackmail is not aggression. It's emotional hostage-taking. It sounds like, asterisk, after everything I've done for you. Asterisk, a good person wouldn't act this way. Asterisk, if you cared, you'd understand. Asterisk, I guess I'm just a terrible person then. Notice something? They never ask directly. They imply obligation. They frame your boundaries as cruelty and their expectations as virtue. Sign number 5. You feel guilty for having boundaries. This is the 5th sign you're being manipulated every day. You feel bad for. Asterisk saying no. Asterisk needing space. Asterisk choosing yourself. Asterisk resting. Asterisk disagreeing. You start over-justifying simple decisions. Not because you're wrong, but because guilt has been installed as a control switch. How guilt hijacks the nervous system. Guilt activates the same brain regions as physical pain. Your body interprets moral rejection as threat. Manipulators know this. So instead of force, they use asterisk disappointment, asterisk silence, asterisk wounded expressions, asterisk passive suffering. They don't shout. They withdraw approval. And because humans evolved to survive in tribes, rejection feels like death. So you comply. Machiavellian law. Virtue is a tool. Machiavelli warned, men are less afraid to offend one who makes himself loved than one who makes himself feared. Why? Because love creates expectation. Expectation creates obligation. Obligation creates control. When someone brands themselves as good, they weaponize goodness. They make disagreement look immoral. And suddenly, your freedom looks like betrayal. Shame versus guilt, the deadly difference. Guilt says, I did something bad. Shame says, I am bad. Manipulators escalate guilt into shame. They don't criticize actions. They attack identity. You're selfish. You're cold. You've changed. Once shame sticks, you don't just comply. You try to earn forgiveness for existing. That's slavery. Ask yourself this. Who benefits from you feeling ashamed for wanting peace? Sit with that. Why kind people are the easiest targets? You were taught. Asterisk, be understanding. Asterisk, be patient. Asterisk, be forgiving. Asterisk, be selfless. No one taught you. Asterisk, when to withdraw. Asterisk, when to detach. Asterisk, when to protect your energy. Manipulators prey on untrained virtue. They call it love. It's not. It's extraction. If this is hitting close, Backend Index Pointing Right, subscribe now. Backend Index Pointing Right, share this with someone who feels too guilty to leave. Awareness is the first cut. How to break moral control. You don't argue morals. You enforce limits. You stop explaining. You stop defending. You stop negotiating your dignity. Because morality without boundaries is just self-destruction with good branding. And now we move into the most dangerous manipulation of all, the one that keeps you trapped even after you see everything. Why these signs control you. The hidden mechanism of manipulation. You've seen the 5 signs. You've followed each one like breadcrumbs in a dark forest. Gaslighting, guilt tripping, intermittent rewards, isolation, and fear-based compliance. But now comes the moment most people never reach. You might be thinking, okay, I know the signs. I see them. Now what? Here's the brutal truth. Knowing the signs is not enough. Understanding why they work is what separates the ordinary from the untouchable. And the mechanism behind it? It's subtle, invisible, but deadly effective. This is what I call the manipulation architecture. 1. Trauma bonding, the invisible chains. The first layer of this architecture is trauma bonding. You might think, I hate this person. I know they're toxic. I want to leave. And yet, you feel stuck. You keep coming back. Why? Because the manipulator has wired your brain. Each emotional spike, the occasional praise, the guilt, the tiny victories is like a drug. Dopamine, oxytocin, adrenaline. You are addicted to the highs and lows, and the lows make the highs feel addictive. This isn't your fault. This is human biology weaponized against you. Machiavelli would have called it control without conflict. You are being ruled, and you don't even see the throne. 2. Cognitive dissonance, the silent prison. Next, we move to cognitive dissonance. Here's what happens in your head. I know this isn't right, but maybe it's my fault. Maybe I'm overreacting. Maybe I can fix them. Your mind is fighting itself. You experience mental tension every time reality clashes with your expectations. And manipulators thrive here. They create the chaos, then make you question your perception, keeping you in the trap indefinitely. Dark psychology studies show that people will rationalize abuse, lies, and control if the manipulator has seeded even a small amount of doubt. You are literally complicit in your own manipulation, and that's the genius of it. 3. Normalization, poison in your comfort zone. Once trauma bonding and cognitive dissonance are in place, normalization does its work. You start accepting manipulation as just how life is. Gaslighting becomes they just care in their own way. Guilt tripping becomes maybe I really should feel guilty. Isolation becomes maybe my friends are the problem, not them. Step by step, you begin to internalize their control as normal. And this is where dark psychology turns cruel. People who manipulate others are experts at rewriting your internal narrative. You are no longer fighting an external enemy. You are fighting your own mind, trained to obey. 4. The illusion of choice, the trap titans. Manipulators are masters of illusion. They make you feel like you have choices, but every choice leads back to them. Say no, you're difficult or ungrateful. Say yes, you're too soft or naive. Leave, you're abandoning them or irresponsible. The result? Every move feels like a compromise. Every choice strengthens their control, and every act of rebellion is met with psychological pushback. This is why even after spotting the signs, many people remain trapped for years. They feel like they are choosing freedom, but the manipulator has already framed the boundaries. 5. Why awareness isn't enough. Here's the kicker. Simply knowing the 5 signs doesn't free you. Knowledge without action is like knowing a fire is coming, but choosing to stay in the house. You have to understand the mechanism that fuels the manipulation, and then apply strategies to break it. Detach emotionally. Set unbreakable boundaries. Recognize the addiction your brain has formed to their chaos. Reclaim your energy and focus. Only then can you turn awareness into power. Now, I want to pause. Ask yourself, how many people in my life trigger these patterns daily? How many times have I justified their behavior or blamed myself? What would happen if I reclaimed the energy I've been giving them? Comment below your answer. I want to hear your story. You are not weak for noticing this. You are ready to rise above it. Trauma bonding keeps you addicted to the manipulator. Cognitive dissonance makes you doubt your own reality. Normalization rewrites your perception of what's acceptable. Illusion of choice ensures you stay trapped. Awareness alone won't free you. Action is required. Machiavelli would remind us, power is the ability to control your own mind, not just others. And this is where the video begins to shift. The signs are now clear. The trap is visible, but knowing how to break it is the ultimate key. How to break manipulation forever, the Machiavellian exit protocol. This is the moment where everything changes. Up until now, you've been learning how manipulation works. But knowledge alone doesn't save you. Knowledge without execution is just awareness with chains still attached. This final module is about escape, dominance, and psychological immunity. Because manipulators don't fear angry people. They don't fear smart people. They don't even fear people who know the signs. They fear people they cannot control. And control ends the moment you change your internal operating system. 1. The first rule, emotional detachment, is power. The single most important principle in dark psychology is this: whoever cares less controls the interaction. Manipulators survive on emotional reactions. Your anger feeds them. Your explanations empower them. You need to be understood enslaves you. So the first move is not confrontation. It's emotional withdrawal. You stop reacting. You stop explaining. You stop justifying. You stop correcting their version of reality. Not because they're right, but because they're no longer relevant. Machiavelli understood this deeply. The wise man avoids conflict he cannot win and refuses battles that benefit the enemy. Silence isn't weakness. Silence is denial of supply. And when the supply ends, the manipulator panics. 2. Why confrontation usually fails. Most people make a fatal mistake. They finally realize they're being manipulated, and then they confront the manipulator. They say things like, "You're gaslighting me. You're controlling. You're toxic." And then they're shocked when things get worse. Here's the truth no one tells you. Confrontation gives manipulators information. You just told them what you noticed, what hurts you, where to adjust their strategy. A manipulator exposed is not defeated. They are upgraded. Machiavellian strategy never announces withdrawal. It executes quietly. 3. The frame shift. Stop playing their game. Manipulation works because you are playing inside their frame. Their frame sounds like, "Explain yourself. Prove your loyalty. Fix this now. Why are you like this?" Your power begins when you refuse the frame entirely. Instead of defending, you respond with, "That's your interpretation. You're free to think that. I disagree." Noted, short, calm, emotionless. These phrases do something terrifying to manipulators. They return ownership of emotion back to them. Now they're alone with their chaos. 4. Boundary without explanation, the sovereign rule. Healthy people respect boundaries. Manipulators test them. So here's the rule. Any boundary that requires explanation is already weak. You don't say, "I can't do this because I'm sorry, but please understand." You say, "That doesn't work for me. I won't be doing that." This conversation is over. And then you stop talking. No debate. No defense. No emotional leaky. This triggers what dark psychology calls extinction burst. They escalate. They guilt trip. They threaten. They love bomb. This is not failure. This is withdrawal symptoms. Stay still. 5. The detachment phase, why they suddenly change. Here's something shocking. Once you truly detach, once your energy is gone, many manipulators suddenly become kinda, apologetic, self-aware, changed. This is not growth. This is control recovery behavior. They're trying to pull you back into the system. Machiavelli warned, men change their behavior when their advantage is threatened, not when their morals improve. Do not fall for late remorse. If someone only respects you when they're losing you, they never respected you. They respected access. 6. Solitude is the final test. When manipulation ends, something uncomfortable happens. Silence. No chaos. No drama. No emotional speakers. And this is where many people relapse. Because manipulation trains your nervous system to mistake chaos for connection. Peace feels unfamiliar. Stillness feels empty. Silence feels lonely. But this stage is sacred. This is where you rebuild. Self-trust, clarity, direction, power. You are not lonely. You are unplugged. 7. The final transformation, from target to threat. Once you complete this process, something irreversible happens. You stop being easy to guilt, easy to provoke, easy to control. Manipulators sense it immediately. Your tone changes. Your eyes change. your responses change. You become boring to predators. And that is the highest compliment, because in dark psychology, boring means protected. If this video disturbed you good, that means it reached a part of your mind most content never touches. Ask yourself this: who benefits when I doubt myself? If the answer isn't me, then something needs to change. If you've ever felt controlled, confused, or emotionally drained, you're not weak. You were targeted. Subscribe, not for entertainment, but because understanding human psychology is no longer optional in a world full of manipulators. And comment below, which sign hit you the hardest? Because once you see manipulation clearly, you can never be controlled the same way again.